I'm Jasmine, and these are my parents, Guy and Joe, and my boyfriend, Rowan. And this is our home, Free Spirit. Come join us on our adventures. We set sail from the top of Mull. Ahead of us lay the Treshnish Islands, home to large colonies of seabirds, our desired destination. But with strong winds forecast for the next few days, we headed towards Ulva and Gometra to wait out the storms. Along the way we were joined by guillemots, Manx shearwaters, and puffins, just a taste of what we might encounter on the Treshnish Islands if a weather window were to open up. We anchored between the islands of Ulva and Gometra, surrounded by steep hills, where deer looked down upon us and seals played in the bay. There is a small gallery on Gometra with some island crafts and a few supplies. Very few people live on the island, but there is a small community. The islands are very exposed to the elements and the beaches are covered in plastic. We found whole sheds full of rubbish. Further along the island we found the remains of a stag, its antlers tangled up in plastic string, a grim way to go. If you venture off the beaten track, you find yourself in some beautiful wild places. From steep, dramatic cliffs to white sand beaches covered in shells. We came across the ruins of a beautiful old village, now left to the elements. The inhabitants were probably forcefully deported after the island came into new ownership in 1846. We came across some very woolly sheep that seemed to have escaped shearing for a few years. The freshwater pools and streams were alive with tadpoles. There is lots of amazing wildlife to be found on these islands. Finally, the winds abated and a weather window opened up for the Treshnish Islands. We set off early in the morning. With almost no wind at all, we were unable to raise the sails, but motored across. The closer we got, the more puffins we saw. Once we were safely anchored, we immediately readied the kayaks so we could explore. A few days of calm were forecast, which meant we had 2 days to explore and appreciate this spectacular place. We paddled to the island of Lunga and set foot on shore. As we neared the cliffs, we realised they were alive with hundreds of nesting puffins. Puffins are auks and spend most of their lives out at sea, only coming to land to breed. The birds were totally unafraid of our presence. This allowed us to get really close to them. It was incredible to be allowed into their world and observe their behaviours. Each one seemed to have its own personality, and it was a joy to watch their funny antics. The island is regularly visited by tourist boats packed with people, but being anchored off on our own boat meant at times we could have the island totally to ourselves. We took great care to be respectful and not disturb the birds or step on their burrows, which were literally everywhere along the island. It being quite early in the year meant that the breeding season was still beginning. Puffins were still digging their burrows and collecting nest material. Puffins greet and court each other by rubbing their bills together, and we regularly heard them cawing and mooing at each other. It was a joy to watch these interactions. Puffins aren't the only inhabitants of Lunga. Pirates, such as the Great Skewer, watch and wait for opportunities to steal food from other birds, and have been known to prey on puffins. Smaller birds, like these wheatear, flit about in the grass. Everywhere you walk, you are surrounded by birds. Shags can be found along the cliffs and pathways. They have also come here to breed and nest. The cries of courting fulmars fill the air. They make their nests on the steep cliffs. Much like the puffin, fulmars spend most of their lives out at sea and return to the land to breed. Razorbills are auks from the same family as puffins, and they also come to Lunga to breed. If you follow the pathway along the west side of Lunga, you'll be greeted to a sight that will take your breath away. The air is alive with the chorus of thousands of guillemots, the most abundant of the auk family. They nest in large colonies tightly packed together, a stunning spectacle to witness. Other birds like these kittiwakes nest amongst the guillemots, and even puffins share the space with these noisy neighbours. There are some old ruins on the island. It's crazy to think what lives these islanders would have led. With the waters still calm, we decided to explore the island from a different perspective. All around us, auks bobbed about on the waves like little toys. The cliffs towered over us as birds circled and danced overhead, a truly awesome sight. As we continued around the island, the sound of the bird colonies slowly faded. The rugged cliffs of the eastern side of Lunga don't harbour as much life. But the towering rock faces and sea caves were pretty amazing to explore. After a nice long paddle all around the island, we sighted our boat once again. We were welcomed back by a curious puffin. In the evening light, the birds began to flock together and circle around the island. The sky filled with more and more birds dancing above our heads. As the evening closed in, we visited the Puffins for one last time. Lunga is a really special place, and it was an honour to have witnessed such a wonderful spectacle. These memories will stay with us forever. Once the breeding season is over, the puffins will return to the open ocean and shed their colourful bill plates and breeding plumage until the time comes to return once more to the Treshnish Islands. Back on board Free Spirit, we watched a beautiful sunset and fell asleep to the haunting sound of storm petrels returning to their nests. Please like and subscribe and join us next time as we continue to sail and explore amazing places.